I am Prejean, and I welcome you on behalf of the League of Women Voters. The League is nonpartisan and nonprofit. It does not endorse or support candidates or parties. Since 1920, the League of Women Voters has worked to educate and inform voters. Membership is open to all women and men over the age of 18. The Lafayette League encourages informed and active participation in government. Our members work to increase understanding of public policy issues and to influence public policy through education and advocacy. We are proud to have as this evening's moderator, Marcelle Fontenot. Marcelle is well known to Acadiana as the co-anchor of the KATC TV3 News. Please welcome Marcelle Fontenot.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I want to welcome you to the forum here at the Southside Regional Library. Tonight, we're offering the public a glimpse of the candidates for Lafayette Parish School Board. We're delighted to have 4 of the 5 candidates running in Districts 1 and 5 here for our forum tonight. Rita Como Mama Miller, the 3rd candidate in District 1, was unable to attend this evening. First, some housekeeping. We ask that you please put your cell phones on silent or either turn them off as we take part in tonight's event. Next, the format. The candidates have not received the questions that will be asked. The questions are designed to give the candidates an opportunity to express their positions on issues relevant to voters. Our process tonight will be to give each candidate in alphabetical order 1 minute to introduce themselves. We will give them 2 minutes for closing remarks. In between the intro and closing, we will pose questions to each candidate in rotating order. Candidates are asked not to address each other directly, as this is not a debate, but instead an informational forum. Answers will be limited to 1 minute, strictly enforced by our timekeeper, Mr. Richard Cusimano, who is sitting up here in the front row. He will give candidates a 10-second warning and stop them with a warning signal if they go over that 1 minute that is allotted. Now let's hear from the candidates themselves. Please introduce yourselves, beginning with Coach Don Gagnard. Well, we're starting with you for this one, at least.
Can we get started?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm a Marksville High School graduate. We're not going to go into the years since this is a women's association here. We'll stay away from the dates. Graduated from Marksville High School, went to LSU, Baton Rouge, graduated there in health, physical, recreation, education, a master's in biology or science. I taught in a little Class C school coming out of LSU for a semester called Fifth Ward High School from K through 12, boys and girls PE. Even started a baseball team there. Moved on over to the none other than Bunkie High School. Stayed there for 2 years, taught biology, PE, coached baseball and football, and the conditioning. Everywhere I've gone, I've done weights and conditioning. Then I got to go to the Wrecking Rams at Acadiana High School with Coach Bill Dotson in 1978. At that time, we were just getting or introducing the beer. So anyway, to make a long story short, that has been my education. I went from Acadiana to Como High School to retired teacher, and I'm still involved. Thank you.
Morrison.
Hello, my name is Mary Morrison. I'm a resident of Scott. My husband is Mayor Purvis Morrison. We have 3 children. I've been in Scott for 34 years. I am a student success advisor at South Louisiana Community College, as well as a continuing education advisor. I've been very active in the community where it involves education as well as government. I serve on Lafayette Parish City Parish Government as a councilwoman, and there I was able to experience working with large budgets, working with the administration, and making very important decisions for the people of District 1. And I do feel that with my experience in education and my experience in government, as well as the community, qualifies me to represent District 1 on the school board. So that's my qualifications, and I ran in 2006 for Lafayette Parish School Board, so I'm ready.
Mr. Boullion.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kermit. I'm the incumbent school board member from District 5. My educational background is that I graduated from ERAP High School in 1969. After that, I attended USL and graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Education. I then taught school in Lafayette Parish as a vocational teacher for over 20 years. And then I retired from teaching, and after that, I went to Houston to get a license to become a funeral director. I attended Commonwealth College. I received an associate degree in mortuary science, and I am a licensed funeral director embalmer in the state of Louisiana. I've been married to Debbie DeZarmo for 41 years. I have 6 daughters, all graduated from Acadiana High School, and I have 12 grandchildren. Thank you.
Mr. Latiolais?
My name is Britt, I'm the challenger in District 5. I'm a lifelong resident of District 5, all 52 of my years. I'm married to the former Sandra Menard. We have 1 son, Brock. I've protected my community, served my schools, and served my country. Member of the Judy's Fire Department as a firefighter, as a young man, still a member today, supporting my community. Over 25 years of involvement with Acadiana High, both academically and athletically, helping in every way we could, every fundraiser imaginable. I served 15 years in the United States Navy Reserves, 4 trips to the Middle East in support of our Operation Iraqi Freedom. That's where I gained a lot of my leadership ability. I've lived in this district all of my life. We've worked with the children in this district as an outsider, as a volunteer. Everything I've done is volunteer. It's mostly with Acadiana, but also as my son grew up through the schools of choice, through the academy. Thank you.
I will be asking questions for all of you to answer, and in some cases, for the candidates in a specific district, those secondary set of questions will be based on the same general topic. So question number 1 is for all of you. Many of our parish schools are old and some are overcrowded. How would you determine which geographical area or areas of the parish should have school facilities, their needs met first? We'll start with District 1. Ms. Morrison, we'll start with you.
I think overall, look at each school and see which one is in a greater need. And also look for funding and see how we can fund repairing our schools. I talked about developing a community foundation, perhaps having businesses adopt a school in their areas. I'm really an advocate of community support where it comes to our schools. I really think we need that community support to help us repair our schools. So I think the community support, looking at the schools that are in a greater need of repairs and asking the community to support us and their.
Coach Down.
Yes, first of all, before we talk about building new schools, we need to make sure we maintain the ones we have now, keep them up, whether we appoint a committee, as we say, and someone to be in charge of that. I'm sure we have that at the school board now, and then have some kind of evaluation, appointed committee to evaluate which schools need, just like she just talked about, which schools need the attention the most, and then naturally is the funding. I think they predict that this population by another 20 years will be almost double, so we have to be focusing on these new facilities, these new schools. The Butler building's a good thing in a way, but if we can get away from that, it'd be even better. But yeah, you'd have to, it's hard to sit here and say we can do this and we can do that. I want to get feedback from my people. I have an organizational thing in my mind. So I set it up with phone committees and certain people appointed certain areas to do certain things, and phone calls and town meetings, and that'll be all accomplished that way. But whatever my people are saying, my principals and my teachers are saying, that's what I will feed back. Thank you.
We'll move on now to District 5. I will read the question again just to reiterate. Many of our parish schools are old and some are overcrowded. How would you determine which geographical area or areas of the parish should have school facilities needs met first? We'll go ahead, Mr. Latiolais, and start with you.
There's already a plan that was looked at in 2009, 2010. It's a master facilities plan. I was actually honored to be able to serve in a couple of the meetings. I couldn't make all of them because some of the meetings they had military commitment. But there is a plan there for use for the school board. And just like the other candidates have said, I mean, you go to the greatest needs first, New schools will most likely be needed in the future. Plans are needed. A good plan is needed, but like I said, the master facilities plan is sitting there waiting, and it's there at our disposal.
One of the first documents I ever asked for from the staff when I was elected was I'd like to know what is the history of the buildings of Lafayette Parish. And surprisingly, they had a very good program, a document they put together. In the 1958, 10 schools were built in that 1 year. In 1981, 6 schools were built in 1 year. And then in 1999, 4 schools were built in 1 year. And you would think that we were building a school maybe perhaps every other year, but that's not the case. The last school to be built was J. Wallace James, and that was 12 years ago in 2002. So I feel we have not kept up with the construction of the brick and mortar of schools in Lafayette Parish. I have been indicating since early January that we needed to get the board talking about construction, and unfortunately, that hasn't happened.
Moving on to the second question, this is for all 4 of you as well, pretty much on the same topic. How would you pay for improving existing schools or building new ones? Would you or would you not support a dedicated tax? And would you please explain why or why not? Mr. Boullion, we'll start with you.
Well, both of us, my opponent and myself, are both Republicans, and I can tell you that I walked last 4 years and I was telling people that I was against any new taxes. I'm still against any new taxes. I don't think that's the answer. We have some issues that we have to deal with, how we're going to pay for it. Some people have suggested perhaps maybe some type of sunset tax that would, after 4 or 5 years, come to an end. Right now, the library people, not the library people, but the airport people are trying to pass a 1 penny sales tax. I'll be very curious to see what happens with that 1 cent sales tax. I predict it won't pass, and I think that would be a big indication to the school board and even to the city council that people right now are in the anti-tax mode. They're not in favor of that one bit.
I actually have some research in front of me, but the minute is not long enough to go through everything I have. I am a Republican also, and I don't think the public has the confidence it needs to have in the school board or the school system to vote a tax to go ahead and build. But I mean, I wish I could go through some of what I have. Is the Lafayette Parish School Board has bonding capacity of over $300 million, but does not have the cash flow to make the annual payments for that much. But with steadily increasing sales tax revenue, some of that money could be used to fund construction of a new school. The board has budgeted conservatively since 2008 with a 0 increase in sales tax revenue. That results in approximately $5 million extra revenue coming in each year that is not earmarked for anything. And the board also adds some of that to the general fund reserve and uses the rest for the school system. I have it outlined, but don't have enough time to go through it, but I think this is a pretty good plan.
Just to reiterate the question for candidates in District 1, how would you pay for improving existing schools or building new ones? Would you or would you not support a dedicated tax? Why or why not? Coach Gagnard, we'll start with you.
No, I would not support a tax. I think we're taxed enough. We look at gasoline, gross, maybe 60% total. We should have a federal program, which I'm sure we get funds from, since they're public schools. We should have a state funding department, since naturally it's a state school. The local government should have some way of somehow of putting money in. As an old coach for years and years, we never had a dime from any organization, from any school board, or anything. You never hear any problems about sports or teams getting along, fighting, money. In fact, schools or teams, football teams, basketball teams and such, give money, help raise money. I started this big Metro Bingo here for millions and millions and millions of dollars for this year. Some people are not even aware that that's another avenue. Money shouldn't be a problem, not if we're all focused and work together. Thank you.
What I would like to do is look at the budget and to see and examine how exactly how we're spending our money and have the public involved, have it televised, so and go through each item item by department. In fact, that's the way we did it on Lafayette Parish City Council. And once they could see that we're spending our money wisely, I would like to leave it up to the people, the community. You tell me, do we need a tax? Because that's who will be deciding, the voters, right? So I think the community need to decide if we need a tax. And I think by gaining that support and the trust and letting them see how we're spending our money, we'll let the community decide. We want better schools. The schools are ours. We own it. It's part of our community. It's part of us. So what do you want to see? So I would put that in the hands of the community and leave it open to see how we're spending our money and let them decide. Thanks.
The next question is for the candidates in District 5. Differences of opinion arise. How should a board member handle differences of opinion among his or her colleagues or between the board and others? Mr. Latiolais, we'll begin with you.
I made a comment to that in my profile with the advocate that ran Sunday. If you have a situation and a vote on the board that's 5-4, it's not necessarily that the 5 won and the 4 lost. You just maybe didn't agree with what needed to be done. But once the vote is cast and the resolution is passed, no matter what side you're on, you become a group of 9 to work towards the project. If I vote on a resolution and I'm on the losing side, the first thing you're going to hear come out of my mouth is, how can I help? How can I be a part of this plan? How can we move forward? Because it's the bottom line is education and the children, and it's passed. It's going to move forward, and I'd like to be a part of it. And I think that's what the people in Lafayette Parish and District 5 would like to see, a school board member who's willing to work and have a can-do, let's-do attitude with an open mind.
Of course, we're going to have differences of opinion because even the Supreme Court sometimes has a difference of opinion where they vote 5-4. Only one justice decides what is the law of the land. We have had many cases of the school board being a 5-4 vote. Now it's a 6-3 vote. But regardless of all of the conventions I have attended as a school board member, one of the most important things that I have learned is that you should never, ever criticize your fellow school board member in public. I have made that a point in my career. Never have I ever criticized a fellow school board member in public. I can't say that for the rest of my fellow school board members. I've seen that in various meetings, and I think that's the kind of message that the school board member sends out into the community. And we have to be able to agree to disagree. But when those items come up, we need to discuss them in a very professional manner. Thank you.
This question is for the candidates in District 1. Please describe your experience with conflict resolution and consensus building. Ms. Morrison, will you start us off?
Well, when I served on Lafayette Parish City Council, the very first meeting, I was approached about an issue just before the meeting, and I guess the person thought that I was going to vote a certain way, and then I said, well, I wish you would have approached me before tonight because I would like to listen to the issue before I vote on it. And sure enough, I went into the meeting and I listened, and I voted opposite of what I was asked to do because I voted on what I believed in and what I felt was the right thing to do. So, you know, after the meeting, then I explained to that person why I did what I had to do, and they appreciated my opinion and respected me for it. So I think if we just be ourselves and make the right decision and let people know why we're doing what we're doing, and I think that would be the end of the conflict resolution.
Coach Gagnard?
Seems like there were conflict resolutions every day when you coach for 24 years. You catch them smoking in the bathroom, or they're keeping their feet on their cigarettes, and you writing tardy slips, and you bailing them out of jail. And you know, I taught for 24 years and coached just about everything. We talk about what did you commit or do, you dedicated to the community, my life, my family, my children, constantly. 11, 12 months out of the year. I took all kids from all places, from all schools, and taught them in all seasons. Yeah, I never wrote a child in my life. Never had a kid written up. Never did in 24 years. I don't believe in that. I believe there's other ways of handling discipline through respect, hard work, and you become the role model. And what you said is what they do, good and bad. There's no black, there's no white, there's right in the middle, whatever's fair, whatever comes up. So it's hard to come sit here and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You have to cross that bridge as you get to it. It may change as everything changes out from day to day. Believe you me, when we got into this, it changes all the time. But anyway, yes, I was raised that way. Thank you, sir. I'd let you time out. I know that sign well.
This next question is for all of you. If budget cuts must be made in the general fund, how will you determine where to trim and what programs to preserve? We'll start with District 1, with Coach Gagnard.
Well, there again, I'm not a professional in that area, but I've always surrounded myself with knowledgeable people. Someone asked me, man, do you think just because you were a teacher that you're capable, you should be a business manager? Well, it takes it all. This is a small world. Your school's all the world. Your doctors, your lawyers, your teachers, your mechanics, your carpenters, that's your world. And you have to just work together. And as far as
how will you determine where to trim and what programs to preserve?
Where to trim? That would be tough. You'd have to get professionals again, as I say, business majors, business people that know a lot more than what I would know concerning that. I don't like to trim. I would like to add. I want to see why we should trim in Lafayette Parish. I can't understand it. Never did. Never will. My first year of coaching, I'm about to get out for the timeout thing. We slept on mats in cold gyms over the winter times, and we raised money. I started a big Lafayette Invitational, Ken Cole Invitational. I started at 50-something schools that we're making 20 grand on one tournament. Money shouldn't be a problem. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Morrison?
To me, the most important stakeholder in all of this is our students. So the students would be the last I would look at cutting, or not cut at all. And then I will look at everything else and see what is really needed. Of course, we need our materials in the classroom. I would not cut that. Just something that we could live without. I will look at the most important, our priorities, and then go from there and make a decision.
If budget cuts must be made in the general fund, how will you determine where to trim and what programs to preserve? Mr. Boullion.
Well, first of all, I would do exactly what I did in the last 4 years. I would first allow the superintendent to make the budget. He's the one who's in charge of the system. He knows better than anyone else what needs to be cut and what needs to stay. After that, then it comes to the board, and we can negotiate between the board and the superintendent and see what we need to do to balance the budget. But I can unequivocally say that the last place I would cut would be in the classroom. That is the absolute last place. There's so many other places that we can cut. We can't be affording to cut, taking anything away from our teachers. But I want to bring to your attention one interesting thing that happened in the course of our budget process. This board, at least the majority of this board, refused a $2.9 million budget for textbooks. And I'm angry with that because it affects schools in my district. There are some teachers and there are some students in my district that still, in October, do not have their books, or the teachers do not have their work manuals, because the majority of this board decided that they were not going to let them purchase textbooks.
I think we're all pretty much in agreement that you don't cut the kids, you don't cut the classrooms. The school board has the staff to put together a budget, and you have to do research. Not being a seated board member, I don't have access to all of the information that an incumbent would have. But you use your resources, you do your research, and you cut in non-essential areas. But I'm going to reiterate what everyone else is here. You don't cut the kids, you don't cut the teachers, you don't cut the supplies. And maybe you look for other resources, like Coach Gagnard said, to bring more money in. But just use the resources available and make an educated decision, and if cuts are needed, go in areas that can afford the cuts, but never the kids.
All four of you will answer the next question. What do you see as the role of charter schools in public education, specifically in Lafayette Parish, and under what conditions would you approve additional charter schools for this parish? We'll start with District 1, Ms. Morrison.
My knowledge of public schools in the past they were developed for high-risk, low-performing students. And now it seems like they're being used for an overflow. I don't think we need any more charter schools at this time. I would like to look at and examine what we have, look at our system, make sure that our system is working properly, and we have what we need. And I would like to work with the charter schools because we all want the same thing. We're all in the business for the success of our students. So I think we need to work with what we have and make sure we both balance in what we need. So that's how I would look at the situation, but I don't think we need any more charter schools at this time until we examine what we need and how effective they are at this time.
Coach Gagnard?
Charter schools are kind of confusing. I'm confused. How many people in here, be honest, raise your hands that you know what a charter school is all about? You honestly know what a charter school is all about? Is it selective? Is it selective? Do you have to take tests? Then what is the difference? Is it more of a career? Is it a curriculum? What is a charter school? What is its goal? Why are there charter schools? Why were charter schools born? I think we all know the answer. You know, our public schools are getting watered down. We're getting watered down. So sure, parents and people want to go elsewhere where they can get an education. We can't let the federal government control our people. We determine what's going on. The parents, the teachers, the principals. So now you see an evolution of now we're getting away again. Now we're segregating again. And that's what's happening. Charter schools, I'm very, very not sure about it, but if it's going to offer quality education as compared to what's happening now, yes, I would say go with charter schools.
What do you see as the role of charter schools in public education in Lafayette Parish? And under what conditions would you approve additional charter schools for our parish? Mr. Latiolais.
First and foremost, I'd like to say I am for public education. Charter schools, I think, in Lafayette Parish are still an unknown commodity. I mean, we don't know much about them. They're just getting here. I think they ought to have to live by the same standards as our public schools. I think the school board should have some oversight of the charter schools. I mean, my impression of the charter schools we have here in Lafayette are for-profit charter schools from out of state. Our tax dollars are going to these charter schools. We're losing students, we're losing money, and it's my understanding that once a student goes to a charter school, if they choose to leave and come back to the public school, the money still stays with the charter school. A public school will not turn anyone down for an education. These charter schools can kind of sort of pick and choose. If we can find a way for the charter schools to work within the Lafayette Parish School Board, I'd see no problems. But if they're going to stay segregated away from the school board system, I don't know if I'd be in support of bringing any more in.
Thank you, Mr. Latiolais. Mr. Boullion?
First of all, I will not be supporting any more charter schools. I'm not in favor of this basic principle that monies from the charter school end up in Florida. I don't like that. We have this, our taxpayers' dollars, and it's leaving the state. I was thinking about the charters the other day. We have a type 2 charter situation in Lafayette Parish. The board tried to hope that we would get a type 1 charter where we could negotiate with the charter schools. We could work hand in hand, but that's not the case. The type 2 was given by the state. We have no control over what that charter school does. But I need to tell you guys that this past Friday, I was invited to visit one of the charter schools, the one near Rouse's in Youngsville. I was so very impressed. Now, it is a new building. It was immaculately clean. You know what impressed me the most? The janitor had a uniform with a name tag. And I was so very impressed with that. And I want to bring that to Dr. Cooper's attention one day.
All of you will answer the next question. If a parent or principal comes to you with an issue at a particular campus or a situation involving one specific teacher, what is your role as a school board member in helping to resolve that issue? We'll start with District 5 with Mr. Boullion.
I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that.
Sure. If a parent or a principal comes to you about an issue at a specific campus or involving a particular teacher, what is your role as a school board member in resolving that issue?
Well, it happens often. You know, as a school board member, you get a lot of phone calls from parents. Their kids are expelled, their kids are in trouble, and they want you to take their kid who's been expelled for assaulting a teacher and get them back in the classroom. And then they'll throw this at you: I voted for you, and if you don't help me out, I will make sure I find somebody to run against you. These are the types of things that you have to understand. You have to have tough skin to be an elected official. And my response has been to always try and calm that parent down. I will see what I can do. I will try my very best. And either the first two people I'm going to go to is either the principal or the superintendent. I will never approach a teacher. There are some school board members that like to prowl the campuses and not even let their principal know that they're there videoing and taking pictures. I don't agree with that at all. Every time I go to a school, I always report to the principal, and I make sure that he knows I'm on campus. So first, I would talk to the superintendent, and then I would talk to the principal and see what we could do to help that family.
As an elected official of the people, I think you have to kind of sort of be a liaison between the school and the parent, a buffer. I once had an individual tell me in these situations, you don't allow anyone to draw a line in the sand. You don't want to be this side or that side. I would think you'd calm the situation down and try to advise the parent the best course of action, which would be, I guess, the chain of command through the school board, through the school, have a sit down, have a conference. As an elected official, not being an incumbent and knowing everything there is to know by the school board, I don't know what I could or couldn't do, but I would definitely try to act as a liaison between the school and the parents and buffer the situation.
Moving on to District 1, if a parent or a principal comes to you about an issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a specific teacher, what is your role as a school board member in resolving that issue? Coach Gagnard.
Well, first, I would assess the parent. If he's real big, I would be real polite. I'll try to run it. Otherwise, I'd put him in a headlock or a chicken wing or a hammerlock, whatever it is. You have to always let the parent feel that he or she is right. Okay, they have to have a cooling off period. You can't just go there. Yes, ma'am, I understand. I love little Johnny. Little Johnny's an excellent student, but all right, always Johnny's gonna be good, but we can take care of Johnny. But you don't take care of those problems, and we try to maybe drink coffee, maybe later tomorrow or next week. Let's talk about it, or follow the chain of command. But you're not gonna win. You're already overheated. You got to give them a cooling off period. Hopefully, if it's a Friday night football game, you got till Monday morning, unless they play on Saturdays like Katie has been in the past, recently. So I would say yes, the parents are going to have to be right at that time, and then you have a chain of command. You were saying principals, and next you would go to maybe the board members, and to the superintendent, and talking to your people through phone committees and such. Thank you.
We all have rules and regulations we have to follow. So the first I would listen, see exactly what happened. Then, of course, I would confer with the superintendent and see exactly what can we do about it. But I think we have to follow the rules. That's the only thing that guides us into solving problems. So if little Johnny broke a rule, well then he has to be accounted for that rule. But I would listen and bring forth the justice on what needs to be done, and make sure that it's fair to everyone. When I served on Lafayette Parish City Council, I had constituents call me about several things. And first of all, I would listen. And then I would tell them I will do the best that I can to help you. And then look at what we can do, and then go ahead and follow through and get it done.
The next question is for District 5. What criteria should the school system use to evaluate the success of an instructional program in each school? Mr. Latiolais.
Right off the bat, I'll let you know that's not a subject I know that much on. I know we have the Compass system, which we're using now. That is some research I need to do on how to evaluate teachers and students. I know we have the testing, the LEAP, and so forth and so on. And some of the teachers I've talked to say some of it's effective, some of it's not. They'd like to see it changed. I think that's an avenue, going directly to the people, to the teachers, to the schools, and seeing if the present way of evaluating we have is good and correct, or if some things need to be changed. But that is something I would have to do research on, and as a seated school board member, I'm sure I would have the access to that information.
Mr. Boullion?
Mind repeating that question again?
Absolutely. What criteria should the school system use to evaluate the success of the instructional programs in each of our schools?
Well, we have throughout our parish instructional strategists. That is all they do. They get with the teachers, they analyze the test scores, they look at the data. They make sure that they can tell the principal and they can tell the teachers exactly what is working and what is not working. I, as a school board member, can't walk into a school and tell you what's working and what's not working. You have experts in that field that do that. But one of the big complaints I've heard from teachers, even before I became a school board member, was that we in Lafayette Parish never give enough time for a program to work. After 1 or 2 years, we just jerk it out because we're not too sure what's happening. Programs need to be allowed 3 and 4 years to see if they're going to work out or not. And that's one of the problems that we've had in the past. I think that with Dr. Cooper, we've kind of put an end to that, and we're giving our programs adequate time to be proven to be successful.
Candidates for District 1, this is your question. What do you consider to be solid evidence of a student's learning over an entire school year? Ms. Morrison.
I think definitely scores. As an instructor, I teach a class where once I teach the class, they have to sit for a certification. And to me personally, the way they score on that certification reflects the way I taught them, even though some, don't apply themselves as well as they should. But I kind of feel, comfortable that I have taught them the best that I could, and then I would hope that they would perform in that manner. So I think just giving all you have in that classroom, and then once you've given everything you have, that's all you can give, and then hope that the students will perform and test well.
Coach Gagnard?
Well, I guess coming from the old school, we change and we have program after program after program. That program doesn't work, so let's start another program to fix that program because the other one's not going to work or didn't. There is time. But discipline is the main thing concerning grades and what you're learning in the classroom. Like I said, I've never had a child fail anything that I taught, never ever. I taught, reviewed their notes the following day in biology, and if I didn't have good positive feedback, I retaught. Okay, I use the old term, the old bell curve. Does anyone here know what an old bell curve is? All right, you should have the same amount of A's, as the same amount of F's, and the same amount of B's, and the same amount of D's, and mostly C's. Well, I don't know what the mainstreaming and what's going on and da-da-da-da-da, but to make a long story short, those that deserve it should make the grades. You should have A's, you should have F's. I understand the 100% turnaround plan. I understand that, kind of unrealistic, but I still understand it. It is a goal, it is an objective, and you got to set them high to reach at least 80% of that. Anyway, that's the way I feel about it concerning. Thank you, sir.
This next question is for all of you. How are the roles of a school board member and a superintendent different? And what is an ideal relationship between that school board member and the superintendent? We'll start with District 1 with Coach Gagnard. I'll go over it again, of course. How are the roles of a school board member and a superintendent different? What is the ideal relationship between that same school board member and the superintendent?
Well, again, I keep saying loyalty is a good thing. All the old school qualities need to come back, the morals, the goals, the objectives. He would be my head coach. And as an assistant to a head coach, you know, unless you're going to hurt the child, you do whatever you ask, and you do it quickly as possible. Now, after a while, and you keep supporting that particular person, head coach, superintendent, and it doesn't work, then you have to make some changes, not yourself. But I'm completely and totally loyal to my superiors, and that's all I answer to. First of all, to the parents, to the community, to the teachers. Hello, teachers, where are you? And the principals, and then we move on up the ladder. Thank you.
Ms. Morrison?
The superintendent is responsible for day-to-day operations, and the school board members are responsible for making policies and procedures. However, I think it's very important that our superintendent and our school board members communicate on the budget, on any issues, and just to keep a close communication. So I think even though their jobs are different, communication is the key for the success of our system.
To repeat that question, how are the roles of a school board member and a superintendent different? And what is an ideal relationship between a school board member and the superintendent? Mr. Boullion.
Well, as most of you know, I was very instrumental in getting Dr. Cooper to Lafayette to recruit him out of New Orleans. And one thing that you may not know is that Dr. Cooper is not my boss. I am his boss. I only have one employee as a school board member, and that's the superintendent. And I respect that very much. As a school board member, I'm in charge of the superintendent, I'm in charge of the budget, and I'm in charge of the policy, the purse strings, how we spend the money. I think it's very important that as a school board member, you have to have an excellent working relationship with your superintendent. Why would you not let your superintendent manage the school system as he's paid to do, as he was recruited to do? And I've been very content to sit back and let Dr. Cooper run the show as he's paid to do. And I always know he has my cell phone number. He knows how to get in touch with me, and I know how to get in touch with him if there's an issue. Thank you.
Going last, everybody got the good answers. But as everyone else said, I mean, the school board votes on, make policies, votes on the budget. The superintendent runs the day-to-day operations. I think your relationship between a board member and the superintendent has to start with mutual respect. It's a checks and balances situation. The board has its role, the superintendent has his. You have to work together on a day-to-day basis. You can't forget why you're here. It's the education of children. You're not going to always agree. But like I said, can-do, will-do attitude. You have to work together. You have to find common ground. Superintendent needs to let the school board do their job, and the school board needs to let the superintendent do his. Hopefully, you have a pretty good working relationship.
The next question is for all of you, and Mr. Latiolais, you won't go last this time. We'll actually start with you. What would you do to improve teacher recruitment and teacher retention?
Teacher retention is a problem, and that's some of the comments I'm getting walking into. You'd be surprised how many educators we have that live in District 5. We've lost way too many tenured teachers. We're having good, talented young teachers leave this school system. Recruiting new teachers, I mean, you have to have a good working environment. You have to have a board willing to work with the schools, a superintendent willing to work with the teachers. You have to have competitive salaries. We have to add new schools. I mean, we have to make it attractive for these teachers to come here and stay here. Thank you.
The answer to me is very simple. You have to give them more money and more money and more money. And if you do that, they're going to stay. And I'm proud to say that just last week, the school board, I think there was a majority vote, which rarely happens. We gave the teachers a $1,000 annual pay increase. And that's all from the 2002 half-cent sales tax that we have in reserves. But it's unfortunate that our teachers are leaving because I think there's a lot of problems based with the Common Core and some of the things that the federal mandates that have been forced down our throats from the state and from the federal government. So I can see that they're disgruntled teachers. I think they've done their 25 and 30 years, and they're just not going to fight it anymore. They're just going to politely step down. But I think if we can pay our teachers, they would stay.
District 1 candidates, what would you do to improve teacher recruitment and retention? Ms. Morrison.
I think teachers want to be heard. One of the things that I'm going to do is create a committee that consists of teachers, school bus drivers, and every member of the school system, and listen to what their concerns are and see how we can address them. Of course, money is important. However, I think most of our teachers, they do have a passion for teaching and want to teach. But I think we have to listen to what their needs are and what problems they're having, and bring them to the table and let them feel that they are being addressed. And we're willing to listen and do everything we can to help them. Because when they're in that classroom with the students, as a teacher myself, if you don't have what you need to teach your students, it's tough. And if you are thrown with a Common Core that you don't know how to teach, that's tough. Getting on Common Core, I'm an advocate for it, but however, I think that it should have been implemented like in kindergarten and first grade so that they could get ready for it. So anyway, things like that, just want to listen to our teachers and their concerns.
Coach Gagnard?
I don't agree with the money part. I'm not a money person. I don't think that answers all the problems, people. We all know, and I'll say it again. You can go in that big circle, and I'll say it till it's over. You can go in that big circle. It's discipline. I taught in public schools, K through 12, girls, boys, biology, PE, driver's ed, coach baseball, football, basketball, track. I know. You do it because you love it, but you're not going to put up with it because of the discipline. You send a child to the office, he comes back smiling and laughing at you. It's not about money, money, money. I guarantee you can put a teacher in one of them old schools with an old fireplace in there, and he would be a lot more enjoyable to teach with this money, but with discipline. That's the gratitude, that's the reward you have. It's not about all the pretty building and it's not about that. It's good, but they're cool and they're warm and their bellies are full. They can learn, okay? So the money part, I don't agree with that. Discipline is where it's at, and we ain't got it.
Candidates in District 5, this question is for you. What programs or approaches do you recommend to improve educational outcomes for children in lower performing schools? What programs or approaches do you recommend to improve educational outcomes for children in lower performing schools? Mr. Boullion.
Well, we do have those problems. You have an F school in Lafayette Parish or a failing school in the form of J.W. Falk. Unfortunately, that school has been failing for a number of years. I would think the first thing that we need to do is, besides investing a sizable amount of money, is that we're going to have to, again, lower that pupil-teacher ratio. You can't be trying to educate these kids when you have 20 kids and one teacher. It's going to cost us the money. We're going to have to find the money somehow, some way. We have to lower that pupil-teacher ratio where these teachers can be more one-on-one with these students. And it's a very difficult problem that we have. We've invested millions of dollars at Northside High School to address a failing school. And I want you to know that the Northside High School has turned for the better, but it has taken a lot of your tax dollars to do so.
I'm also in agreement with the smaller class sizes, and I think when you form your budget, you put that money in first. Because early childhood development is the key. It's got to be the most important area. From pre-K on through 4th grade, these kids are like sponges. I mean, that's where you get them. That's whether you either keep them or lose them. And I think that's where the resources need to go. That's where we need to look at programs, benchmark other school systems, see what they're doing, and bring those plans here to Lafayette and utilize them. But smaller class sizes, definitely pre-K, kindergarten, first, second grade. That has to be a priority.
District 1 candidates, what are your plans to raise the performance of children in all schools? Coach Gagnard.
Stop telling them they need help. Stop saying it's this and it's that and it's poverty. Again, I'll say and I'll keep going in that circle. You gotta have discipline. You gotta have goals and objectives. You get home, you eat your little sandwich, you do your homework. Then you go play basketball, football, track, or whatever. How many athletes I've coached in 24 years? 80% were in poverty. 80% of them, they worked and they worked hard with you and me. 2 and 3 hours, got home, ate, studied or showered, didn't study, whatever else, and made the grades. They had to make the grades. So as far as the programs, I'll tell you a little story. Years ago, there was a coach that got a hold of his homeroom. He's going to call time out on me. This is important. I'll give some other time on the other one. He got a list of the students' names, and he had a bunch of high scores in there. So this old boy, being coach, you know, all not that too smart. So he said, man, I got a good class. I got you. I have a good class in here. So boy, he started pushing his students. And his students were really starting to excel because he was getting what he demanded out of them. Thank you, sir. And then all of a sudden, he's in the classroom or in the faculty in the lounge, and he says, Coach, that's not their IQs. That's their locker assignments. Okay, he got what he demanded out of them. These are all excuses, and as long as you give these excuses, it ain't gonna happen. Thank you.
Ms. Morrison.
Definitely, I'm an advocate of early childhood. I think if we get them young, get them prepared to learn, I think they can learn. Our kids today are very smart. I also like to implement more tutoring, after-school tutoring, where we can work more one-on-one and encourage the community to maybe even volunteer to help our students after school. So I think tutoring and actually implementing the early childhood piece, I think that we'll see some improvements. So that's what I would do.
We have 2 questions left before closing remarks. This question is for all of you. In your opinion, what has the Lafayette Parish school system done well over the past few years, and what has it done poorly? We'll start with District 5, Mr. Latiolais.
I think putting the committee together for the master facilities plan was a good idea. It hasn't been used, but I think it was a very good idea. I think implementing a turnaround plan, whether it's the 100% in or the 100% out, we're definitely in need of a turnaround plan with data that can be measured. I think the school system has allowed too many teachers to leave. I think the dysfunction for the last couple of years of the school board has hurt morale. It's hurt the teachers, it hurts the schools. I mean, the children are going to learn from the adults, and they're not seeing cooperation. I think Lafayette Parish can turn it around with the proper turnaround plan and the proper focus on the future and just going into everything with an open mind.
Mr. Boullion?
One of the great things that we have in Lafayette Parish that works very well is schools of choice. We have health academies, we have legal academies, we have the arts academy, we have the music academy. There's so many good things that are taking place in Lafayette. And it's unfortunate that because, let's face it, the newspapers, these people want to sell their newspapers, they're going to put a headline that's very sensational. And usually it's not good news, it's always the bad news. But there's so many good things that are working in Lafayette Parish. And one of the things that I'm very proud to support, and because I speak French, is the French immersion programs. Very, very proud of that. I invited Lieutenant Governor Darden to come to Prairie Elementary to see our French immersion program. When I tell you the Lieutenant Governor was impressed, that is putting it mildly. Dr. Cooper and I walked him around Prairie, and he was just amazed. Because right there in Vermilion Parish, the largest French-speaking parish in the state of Louisiana, they do not teach any French immersion. Their school board is basically too cheap to spend the money, and we do in Lafayette Parish.
In your opinion, what has the Lafayette Parish school system done well over the past few years, and what has it done poorly? Ms. Morrison.
I think, first of all, the turnaround plan, I think it's a very good plan. Poorly, I think the communication, what the public is seeing, that's not a very good thing. But just like Mr. Kermit said, there's a lot of good things that are going on in our schools that's not talked about. So I think that, communication could be better if, we show the public that we're communicating and working together. That would be really good for our system. So the turnaround plan is a good plan, and there's lots of good things that's going on in our school, but we just need to talk about it more and let the public know what we're doing. And also the way we evaluate our schools, just like J.W. Falk is an F school. I know there's some good things going on in that school that I want to know about. I bet there's kids that are on the honor roll in that school, but yet they're labeled as an F school. So I want to look at ways that we can evaluate our schools differently to show, yes, we are doing some good. So that's what I would do. Thank you.
Coach Gagnard?
You want to ask the question again?
Of course. In your opinion, what has the Lafayette Parish school system done well over the past few years, and what has it done poorly?
Nothing wrong. I'll find that the Lafayette Parish School Board has done an excellent job. We need to stop this negative stuff. We need to stop it. We need to stop it now. Okay? Let's look forward. All the ugly things we did, that's gone. We need to work together. You know, this 5, 4, 6, 3. Look, once you decided you put this in, and you all voted to put it in, but then you back it until it fails or it succeeds. But if it's, in the meantime, you back it. He tells you, asks you to do this program, which I don't, there are a lot of things in there, 30% I don't agree with, but it's not me, because I don't know it enough. I've studied it, but I'm not that smart, so it'll take me a little bit longer. Okay, but yeah, no riots. You know, I thought there was a little big, the big thing was at the beginning of the year that one kid missed a school bus. I think that was one of the biggest problems, that besides all this drama in the school board meeting, which is immature. People, that can be solved immediately. That's no problem. That's just love. It's just hard love and working together. And once you say that, yeah, we agree that we vote on this sponsor rep, or you didn't vote my way, I want to sue you. It don't go that way. It don't go that way. Thank you, sir.
The last question before closing remarks. In your first year on the new board, what will be your first priority for the board to tackle? Ms. Morrison, we'll begin with you.
I would like to implement professionalism. If we're going to do Robert Rules of Order, let's use Robert Rules of Order. Just have some order in the meeting. Professionalism. And I think when you have a professional environment, you tend to behave professionally and not accept anyone being rude to anyone, saying things that, taking care of business, making sure that we're talking about our students, what's best for them, and say the word student a few times within the meeting. So professionalism, communication, and maybe deciding on issues before the meeting and discussing. So when we go to the meeting, we're here to vote and talk about things that are positive. So just not having the negative publicized. So professionalism is one of the first things I would like to implement.
Coach Gagnard?
Go back to it, discipline. And if you look into it, look, I have a lot of old friends that have taught, retired teachers. They send them to the office and they're coming back. Teachers are bailing out. It's not about the money and the smell and the looks and the roses and the pretty football field. It's about discipline. It's about discipline. If we don't do that, we're worried about the federal government. Oh, we failed too many kids. You need to water it down. We need to mainstream. We need to go back to the old way. People will slowly dissipate. We need to stop labeling students. We need to stop labeling students. There's no such thing as ADHD. Look it up. It just came out again. If you don't believe it, go. There's no such thing. That was a way of making money out of pharmaceuticals. The man just died. He said it. He said it already. You're labeling kids. There's no discipline. Oh, he's got blogger, blogger. Give him a pill, sell him down, let him go to sleep. Don't worry about it. Throw him in another class. You can't label these kids. That's not good. It's not good at all. He will live with that the rest of his life. I have a coworker now. She's experiencing that. She's crying every day at her desk because her child isn't having this. And you know what he's blaming it on? This child is 12 years old. I don't like that Common Core. I don't understand that Common Core. And he ain't the only one. And one more thing. I would have phone committees to try to help with the labeling and the stopping and the tutoring and whatever else they need to be done. Believe you me, I'm not the one that's going to be against giving things away. They're going to earn it. Thank you.
District 5, in the first year on the new board, what will be your first priority for the board to tackle? Mr. Boullion.
I mentioned it earlier. there's no doubt in my mind we need to build some new schools. If I'm reelected, I would like to be known as the brick and mortar school board member. We need to build an elementary school on the south side to help alleviate overcrowding. And I would guess immediately after we build that school, we probably need to start talking about building a high school on the south side of the parish. Now, we have the land. We have section 16 property. We have 644 acres down there. We can build. We just have to get a board who wants to work together to do that. I have asked our president of the school board to put it on the agenda to begin the conversations about building a new school. He has refused, he has repeatedly refused me to put that on the agenda because he has more pressing things to worry about. So again, if reelected, I want to get this board seriously talking about construction, and with that, you're going to have to talk about rezoning, and I'm talking about rezoning the entire parish.
First thing I want to do is make a commitment to the constituents of District 5, the citizens of Lafayette, and the other board members to do my best to work with them. To keep an open mind and I said it before, my can-do, let's-do attitude. And the three things I've listed as some of the most important things that we need to look at, of course, is early childhood development, looking at ways of improving that and funding that. And I think that ought to be funded first. Teacher retention is something we've got to get a hold on. The statistics of the teachers we're losing is scary. And of course, updating our present facilities and looking at new schools in the future. But sitting on a board willing to work not only with the board, with the superintendent, the administration, for the good of the children and the education of the children.
We have reached a point in the forum where the candidates will each make a closing statement. Candidates, you have 2 minutes. We will hear from the candidates in reverse alphabetical order, starting with District 5. So that means, Mr. Latiolais, you get to go first again.
I know that's good or bad. I'm running for school board for my willingness to help. I volunteered the majority of my adult life to different organizations. 25 years I've helped Acadiana. Yes, that is the school I graduated from. Lafayette High will be in this district. We have elementary schools. I'm going to be accessible. I'm accessible now. I'm very easy to find. You'll find me at a sporting event. Friday night, come to the stadium. It's my voice you hear. That's my claim to fame. I'm the voice of the Rams. Love my school. Love giving back. I'm not just giving back, I'm paying forward. I want to go on this board with an open mind, my can-do, let's-do attitude. My line is positive, proactive leadership for the future of our children. Every day we waste, we take away from their future. We need to go back to the basics. It's about education. It's about children. The fighting, the bickering, the dysfunction has got to stop. We've got to start treating people with respect. I'm firm belief there are no winners or losers in a vote on an item. You work together. Just because you're not on the side or you didn't agree with someone, you do everything within your power to work for the good of the kids. And that's the bottom line. That's why I'm running. That's why I was asked to run. I had parents, educators, supporters came to me and asked me to run for this position. I did have a failed bid for city council in 2011, and I think that gave me a good insight into public service. And I think that was, if there's anything such as a positive loss, that was a positive loss. Because now I was told I was the right person in the wrong election. I'm for our schools, and I'm for the future of our children.
Mr. Boullion.
Excuse me, I'm living on cough drops. I would like the people of District 5 to look at me and what I proposed 4 years ago. When I walked door to door, I asked the people to vote for me because I would help to lower the dropout rate. That has happened. I asked people to vote for me and I would focus on raising the graduation rates. That has happened. I asked people to vote for me and I would help to raise the school performance scores in my district. And I'm proud to say all of my schools, their school performance scores have increased since I've been a school board member. I'm also proud to tell you that in 4 years, I've taken my job so seriously that I've never missed one school board meeting. In 4 years, I have a perfect attendance record. I'm very proud of that. What I'm not proud of is what I mentioned earlier. The school board, the majority, will not buy textbooks for our children. On top of that, the school board has decided that they want to take your tax dollars and hire a lawyer to investigate our superintendent. I am against that. They've hired a hotshot lawyer out of Baton Rouge. We're paying him thousands of dollars. We're taking those dollars away from the classrooms to hire a lawyer to investigate a good superintendent. I'm against that. The board is split 6-3, and I would like to clearly state that I do not agree with what those 6 board members are doing at this time. I'm in that 3 minority. I'm with Mr. Cobb and Mr. Cochran. We agree that we need to work with our superintendent. We need to work with him and compromise. We need to give and take with our superintendent. And it's amazing when you can get with your superintendent and close the doors and agree to disagree, the things that can happen, the positive things that can take place in Lafayette Parish. So with all of that, I'd remind the voters, look at me. Have I changed in 4 years, or did I commit, or did I renege? I know I did not renege. I kept my promise to the voters of District 5, and I'm very, very honored to be able to help you and allow your children to earn the education that they rightly deserve. Thank you.
District 1 now. We'll start with Ms. Morrison.
My experience in government, education, and the community, and the fact that I ran for school board in 2006 shows that I have a passion to serve. This is something I've been wanting to do and been preparing for the past 8 years. I thought it was going to happen in 4 more years, but Mr. Mark is not running, so I'm 4 years early, and I'm very excited about that. But I'm very excited about working with the community. When I worked on, when I served on Lafayette City Parish Council, I worked with the people of District 1, so they're familiar with me. I took care of their concerns. They know what my reputation is, and I've been proven to get things done. So for those reasons, I would ask for the voters of District 1 to please support me. This is something I want to do for the right reasons. I just didn't decide to run for school board a couple of months ago. It's something I've been preparing for. My present job, working as a student success advisor, I love my job because I'm helping students on a day-to-day basis. I get really excited about it because I'm so passionate about it. And to see when they succeed, I succeed. I would help kids the way I help my own child and give them those resources just like I would do my own. And so I know I have that deep passion, and I know I'm going to do a good job. I work with large budgets on Lafayette Parish City Council, work with administration, meeting with them, getting things done. So I have the experience in education, government, and the community. I'm proven to know how to work with people to get things done. So again, I ask the people of District 1 to vote for me. I promise you won't be disappointed, and we will make some changes and get some things done in our school system. Thank you very much.
I guess it's my turn to say something last, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, for its passion for education, I was born with that little football. I guess in about the 7th grade, I've always thought, way back in my mind, this is kind of what I wanted to be, till a coach grabbed me and said, hey man, you're going to get out of trouble, you're going to join football, you're going to get it right. I'm the only one out of 5 kids even went to high school. So I know what education you do for a person. It wasn't given to me either. The LSU tuition at that time in 1971 was $125 per month. As far as qualifications, people, I worked from K through 12, girls and boys, PE, science. As far as community and dedications, I go every Tuesday, once a month at Beauchamp and help with old people, give out commodities. I help around, and I've coached all my life. I still see him here, and I even hug him and say, Coach, thank you for being an a-hole, because you showed me what life was all about. The qualifications, and here it is. And you know, I work hard. I've always worked hard. I've pushed hard, but I've been fair. And I listen. I love to listen. I just love being around young people or people in general. And that's one of the reasons I kind of maybe decided I want to run for this, because, boy, I'm knocking at a lot of doors, and I'm seeing a lot of old athletes, and in some cases, some of my grandchildren. Thank you.
To the candidates, we say thank you for being here and allowing the community to get to know more about where you stand on important issues. For those of you here and those of you at home, we hope you feel you can make a more informed decision on Election Day about what school board candidate meets your expectations. The League of Women Voters of Lafayette will have questionnaires from judicial candidates available online. Thank you for watching. Spread the word about forums tomorrow and then again on Monday. Thank you to our timekeeper, the candidates, the League of Voters Service Committee, and AOC. We hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for having me.
The preceding program was made possible in part with production assistance provided by AOC Community Media.